Welcome to the 12 Report with Blessings Mosugu, and these are the headlines. Tinubu orders military, police, others to hunt down terrorists behind Niger attack. Guinea President-elect Doumbouya pledges political, economic sovereignty. Venezuela's Maduro to appear before the judge today in New York. And as usual, we have our reporters stationed in different parts of the nation. We have Idong Joseph standing by in the Federal Capital Territory. Udoka Njoku is in Morocco, and Afia Hagan is standing by in London. We've got the details in a moment. We're beginning today with security matters, where President Bola Tinubu has directed the Minister of Defense, the Chief of Defense Staff, the Service Chiefs, the Inspector General of Police, and the Director General of the Department of State Services to track down and apprehend the perpetrators of the Kasuwan Daji attack in Niger State. Now, he ordered the security agencies to ensure that the terrorists were swiftly brought to justice. The president also directed security agencies to rescue all the abducted victims urgently. Now, he issued the directives in response to the recent killings of villagers in Niger State by terrorists suspected to be fleeing from Sokoto and Zamfara State following the United States airstrike on Christmas Eve. Now to top global issues. Venezuela's deposed president, Nicolás Maduro, is scheduled to appear before a federal judge in New York on Monday to be formally notified about the charges against him. Now, Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, were seized by U.S. forces during a pre-dawn raid on Saturday in Caracas and brought to New York to face charges of narcoterrorism tied to the alleged trafficking of tons of cocaine into the United States. Meanwhile, 5 Latin American countries, including Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Mexico, Uruguay, and Spain, warned against any outside bid for control of Venezuela after U.S. President Donald Trump suggested Washington would run the country and access its oil. On Sunday, Trump threatened that Venezuela's interim leader, Delcy Rodriguez, would pay a very big price if she did not cooperate with the United States. At her first cabinet meeting, Rodriguez, who is due to be sworn in on Monday, appealed directly to Trump, calling for peace and dialogue rather than conflict.
Who's in charge? Because I'll give you an answer and it'll be very controversial.
What does that mean?
It means we're in charge.
Well, meanwhile, Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, has announced the creation of a special commission aimed at securing the release of former leader Nicolás Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores. The pair were captured by the U.S. military in an operation that led to Maduro's overthrow. The decision was made public on Sunday by Venezuela's communication minister, Frederick Inez, during a broadcast on state television VTV. In the meantime, China urged the United States to immediately free Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife after a U.S. strike on Caracas led to their capture. The Chinese Foreign Ministry labeled the operation a violation of international law and an effort to topple Venezuela's government. The demand underscores escalating friction between Beijing and Washington over Latin American influence.
不认为哪一个国家可以充当国际警察，我们也不认同哪一个国家可以自诩为国际法官。各国的主权和安全都应当受到国际法的充分保护。 我们一贯反对在国际关系中使用或威胁使用武力，反对将一国的意志强加于别国。中方愿意同包括巴基斯坦在内的国际社会一道，坚定捍卫联合国宪章，坚守国际道义底线，坚持各国主权平等，共同来维护世界的和平与发展，共同来推动构建人类命运的。
For more on this, I'm joined by our senior international correspondent and anchor, Afia Hagan. Afia, Nicolás Maduro is set to appear before the U.S. court today to find out what the charges are that are leveled against him. But this is quite a very funny situation. I would like to start off from the United States saying that they are in charge of Venezuela's, the country at large, and the oil in Venezuela. I'd like to get an understanding of that to start with.
Well, yes, the United States have pretty much said that they are now in charge of Venezuela, as you so rightly said. So what does that mean and for how long? Okay, so President Donald Trump, when asked over the weekend who was in charge of Venezuela, he said, "We're in charge." Trump has also said that the USA needs total access to oil that's tied to rebuilding Venezuela, to regime change, anything you want to call it. That's a direct quote from him. This capture obviously creates deep uncertainty, and this is completely Washington's most controversial incursion into Latin America in decades. But what does this incursion mean in operational terms? So let's remember that the United States at the moment have control over Maduro's detention. He's going to be in court later on in New York today, around noon, New York time, around 5 p.m. Lagos time. You've got pressure on the incoming president from the United States as well, basically saying that she needs to do what the United States want. You have that commission that's been set up to enable them to work towards Maduro's release. But what will that entail for the Venezuelan incoming president as well? You've got the security posture around this also. You know, the United States, Washington, framing this as removing someone who is illegitimately in power, coming to help a country that has had some huge economic problems. And therefore, that's where the oil comes in, right? The United States running the oil fields that used to be much more productive than they are now. If you have United States companies coming in, controlling Venezuelan oil, making it more productive, where does that money go? Now, Trump is saying that it's going towards rebuilding the country. Rebuilding which country, I think, is a question that a lot of people are asking. Is that money going to go towards rebuilding Venezuela, or will it be funneled back into the United States? And that's a really important question as well that's being posed. So yes, the United States framing this as saving a country from a dictator, but now taking control of that country's oil fields.
Okay, we also understand that China has publicly demanded Maduro's release and has called the U.S. action a violation of international law. What does this mean for the U.S.-China relations and global diplomatic fallout?
Yes, you saw China in that clip that you had really responding to what the United States have done, and saying that they want to avoid the law of the jungle dynamics. That's a quote from the Chinese. So what this means for the US-China relationship, the UN Security Council has said, or at the UN Security Council rather, China positioned to push hardest for the formal condemnation. It wants emergency debates. It wants resolutions. This is a real clash of both narratives here. This could end up in retaliation in some way, shape, or form. It's plausible. It's not entirely guaranteed, but that could be another pressure point. And that retaliation could be in trade, in tech, in security between the two countries. There's a real split between the countries here in how they would handle Maduro, would handle his illegitimacy to be in power. China definitely wouldn't be wading in to take over the country as the United States have done. They're at polar opposites when it comes to their opinion on Maduro and how they would handle them. And so for their relationship, this is very difficult. And like I said, if this escalates between the US and China, you could see that retaliation, which could come in the form of tech, and which could come in the form of their economy and trade between the two countries, how that could work.
Okay, let's take a look at how other global regional actors are responding to the U.S. strike and Maduro's detention, especially considering that the U.S. has a bilateral relationship with a lot of other countries, including Nigeria. And people are saying that if the U.S. had an agreement with Venezuela in terms of oil, and now that, you know, there's been this fallout, they think that they are in charge, what does that mean for other countries that have these sorts of agreements with the U.S.? Nigeria, for example, has signed numerous agreements with the U.S., and people are saying this is why you need to be careful what arrangements you have with the United States. So is there a coordinated pushback amongst these countries?
So countries at the moment are kind of falling into different brackets and how they are responding to what the US has done in terms of Venezuela. So there's no unified bloc in any way, shape, or form. You have one set of countries that has gone for total condemnation of the US force and called for de-escalation. That's Mexico, that's Brazil, some of our other EU countries, EU Commission, Denmark, Norway, are stressing the importance of international law and restraint. The United Kingdom said this morning that they are yet to decide if any international law was broken by the United States with their incursion into Venezuela. That's according to our Home Office Minister, Mike Tapp. And then you've got other countries who are talking about transition, framing and supporting a democratic transition from one leader to another, but also outlining that this needs to be done in a legal way. So that's France, that's Germany, that's Argentina as well. You know, saying that, yes, it's a good thing that you have an illegitimate leader who has been ousted, but it needs to be done in a legitimate way. And then you've got other countries like China, like I said, who have gone for this angle of total condemnation. So you've got different brackets of different countries who are responding in different ways. And this could be because of the bilateral agreements that they have with the United States, or it could just be that their political stance is one way or the other. But there is no unified bloc, and not every country is responding in the same way to the US's actions in Venezuela.
All right, Afia, before we let you go, another very interesting development in this whole twist. Now, Trump has issued a warning to Venezuela's new interim leader. And we also understand that the likes of Maria Corina Machado, who have, referenced Donald Trump for the longest time, now seem to be at loggerhead. Donald Trump doesn't seem to trust any of them. So what's the warning about? Is he trying to tell them to steer clear of power, and what's at stake here?
Well, Trump's warning is about him wanting the next leader to toe the line, and that line is, we have removed someone that we don't agree with, and we are coming in to control the oil. We are in charge, and you're going to do what we say. Basically, that is the bottom line that the US have put forward. Delcy Rodriguez has been told, she's the incoming vice president, that if she doesn't do what's right, she will pay a very big price, probably bigger than Maduro. And we can all read between the lines. We all know what that means. If you don't do what we say, we will remove you in the same way that we have done to your leader. Now, let's remember that Delcy Rodriguez is very much a foot soldier of Maduro. Lots of public appearances with him. Definitely one of his trusted inner circle. So do we think that she is going to do what the United States wants? Well, at the moment, she set up that commission to have Maduro freed. She's very much a supporter of him. So how strong is her political ambition? How much does she want to pay in power? How faithful is she to Maduro? We're going to find that out in the coming weeks. The United States have said, like I said, if she doesn't do what's right, then she will be removed. If she's seen as capitulating to the United States, then she risks fracturing the internal support she has. If she resists, then the US will remove her. At the moment, she's taking a conciliatory tone. It's very tactical. She's invited US officials to cooperate with the framework of international law. And she's the ultimate test will be whether she gives total access to Trump's team and the people that want to come in and run the Venezuelan oil fields. That will really be the ultimate test of her loyalty to Maduro or how much she wants to stay in power.
All right, News Central's international correspondent and anchor, Afia Hagan, bringing us an update on the capture of Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro based on the alleged narcoterrorism. And of course, he will be appearing in court alongside his wife today to find out the charges leveled against him. And of course, people are still trying to understand the context with which the U.S. president declared that they are in charge. of Venezuela and the oil. We take a short break. It's still the 12 report. When we come back, Nigeria's House of Reps concludes amendments on electoral reforms ahead of 2027 polls. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us on the 12th report. Now we head back to security matters, where about 912 rounds of heating ammunition have been recovered by the Borno State Police Command at Jamba Mari area of Maiduguri in Nigeria's northeast region. Nahum Dasso, the police public relations officer, Borno State Command, says that the recovered exhibits have been secured, while investigations are ongoing to trace the source and intended use of the ammunition. The police has commended members of the public for their timely and useful information, while reiterating the command's commitment to sustained intelligence-led policing. Dasso further urges residents to continue partnering with the police by promptly reporting suspicious movement of activities of criminal suspects within their communities. And to legislative matters. In what many observers see as lessons learned from past legislative setbacks, the House of Representatives has concluded amendments to the Electoral Act while ahead of the next general election cycle. Now, lawmakers say the early action is aimed at avoiding previous delays that resulted in withheld presidential assent, while also responding to long-standing concerns over electoral credibility, especially among young Nigerians. Right now, we go live to News Central's Idong Joseph, who is on standby to give us more information on this. Idong, beyond finishing early, what are the key changes in these amendments, and how do the lawmakers say that they will strengthen the credibility of future elections ahead of the forthcoming elections?
Well, if you look at what the House of Representatives concluded on the 18th of December 2025, where over 50 sections of the existing Electoral Act, which seeks several areas, grey areas, which have been a source of concern to analysts and even citizens across the country. And if you look at it, we can't just state all of it, because there are over 50 sections of the existing Electoral Act that currently undergoing an amendment in the National Assembly, and over 77 clauses were also under consideration, and key among them is punishment for vote buying, that's vote trading. And formally in the existing Electoral Act, it stipulates that anyone found guilty of vote trading should pay a fine of 500,000 naira and an imprisonment of, I think, not more than 2 years imprisonment. But the existing, the proposal now in the National Assembly, which the House of Representatives has concluded its own part, is seeking 5 million naira, a minimum payment of 5 million naira fine for anyone found guilty of vote trading, and not less than 2 years imprisonment, meaning a person can be imprisoned for more than 2 years when found guilty in vote trading. And also, looking at it again, there is also a proposal for ensuring transmission of election results from the polling units electronically in real time. You could remember that was a major source of concern after the 2023 general election, which major political contenders went to the court and stated that election results were supposed to be transmitted, but INEC stated clearly that there is no law backing that up. But now the proposal in the House of Representatives, which has concluded its process there, waiting for the Senate to also do the same, is seeking that election results should be transmitted from the polling units in real time to the INEC election results viewing portal in real time. And also, there are several others amendments in the House of Representatives that were concluded. And all of these laws, this proposal which I just mentioned, and the ones I cannot mention now, are seeking tighter accountability in the electoral process, and also strengthen citizens' confidence in the electoral process. And to address address those gray areas which we observed in the last election and ensure that that does not repeat itself in the coming election. And that's why they had to finish the process on time, ending of last year, because they were supposed to also consider the constitutional amendment bills also, which are in the House of Representatives and also in the Senate. But lawmakers thought that this was very important, looking at the time frame to the next election. So they had to attend to that urgently. And now we are hoping that the Senate is going to do the same to ensure swift transmission of that bill to the president for his assent.
Let us consider some of the past setbacks. How confident is the House that these amendments will receive a presidential assent without delay this time around?
Era of Bukola Saraki, where the electoral bill amendment bills were transmitted to the president very late, and the president raised concern that he was unable to sign that because he said the time frame to the election was very close, and that is going to be a bone of contention after the election. So he refused assent to the bill. That's former President Muhammadu Buhari. He refused assent to it because it was sent very late. But now, this time, with the House of Representatives coming up to pass it on time, they are confident from what the chairman of the House Committee on Electoral Matters stated, that he is confident that with this timely transmission, and if the Senate do the same, also timely and transmit it to the president, then it will give stronger credibility and accountability to the election process of the country.
Idong Joseph there giving us an update on the electoral reforms where the House of Reps concludes on amendment for 2026. And definitely News Central will keep you up to date on that development. But let's still talk politics. River State Deputy Governor Professor Ngozi Odu has officially defected from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress. And she said the move followed the recent defection of Governor Simeola Fubara to the APC and is intended to further consolidate political support for both the president and the governor at the grassroots. Now, Odu completed her registration on Sunday in Akabuka, Ogba, Egbema, Ndoni local government area before touring the 6 local government zones to promote the APC's ongoing e-registration exercise. The tour also saw hundreds of Labour Party members in Ndoni join the APC, boosting its grassroots strength. In a similar development, the secretary to the River State Governor, Benibo Anabrara, has resigned his membership of the PDP. Still staying with politics, the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike has visited Okrika local government area, a key Ijaw stronghold in River State, to rally his supporters. During this visit, Wike warned that politics would not be business as usual and threatened to retire his political opponents. News Central's Biola Festus reports.
Remain divided across River State regarding Wike's influence on the Ijaw political agenda during his tenure. At his New Year visit to Okrika Local Government Council, Wike highlighted his administration's projects, including his earlier support for an Ijaw governor, which he described as a mistake and a tale of betrayal.
So many people say, oh, it's not good with the Ijaw people. I am good with the Ijaw people. I'm good with the Okrika people. But if there's one person that does not want development, I will not be good with that person. Some people came to me, why will you do this? Are you not seeing what the Ijaw man is doing us? I said, that is not one. Everybody cannot be the same. One person cannot rob everybody. It's not possible. We have made a mistake in this state. We will kill ourselves, but we'll correct the mistake this time around.
Thompson Sekibo, leader of the River State Ijaw People's Congress, said the Ijaw community has withdrawn support for Governor Fubara, alleging that the governor undermined the Ijaw people by contesting authority with the FCT minister.
The last time he said we should vote on the Johnson, you brought somebody. We voted for him. Don't look at him and think that we are all ungrateful people. The Ijaw people are very grateful people. That is why we abandoned him and we said we must follow you. In this your short stay as a minister, Your Excellency, you don't know what you have done for us. We can count 15 great appointments, federal appointments you have given to job people. Whatever you say we should do, that's what we do.
Meanwhile, Tobin Akuro, chairman of Okrika LGA, praised Wike for his political benevolence, including attracting federal appointments to the area.
You so much empower them because of the love you have for them and for Okrika. Today, they've all run away from you. Now just run away from you. They came down, started telling us all sorts of lies about you, that they didn't do anything. We are so happy with Mr. President, whom you've been supporting, and whom you also ask us to support. Wherever he asks us to go, we will go. Who they want us to support, we will support.
Wike also paid a courtesy visit to the king of Okochiri Kingdom, describing it as a friendly, non-political engagement.
And now, Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde has announced a cabinet reshuffle. According to a statement by his special advisor on media, Suleiman Olariwaju, Makinde has relieved the secretary to the state government, Professor Olanike Adeyemo, of her appointment with immediate effect. Professor Musibao Babatunde has been appointed as the new secretary to the state government. The state added that Temilolu Ashamu has been moved from the Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources to the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning. Also, the governor has announced his senior special assistant on public works, Ademola Aderintor, as a commissioner designate. He will consequently be presented to the Oyo State House of Assembly for screening. You're still live with us on the 12 Report. We go on yet another short break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the Yuletide and the period when families and friends get the opportunity to celebrate together. Stay with us. With us on the 12 Report, Edo State Governor Monday Okpebholo has issued a stern warning to contractors handling road projects across Edo South, saying delays will no longer be tolerated. During an inspection tour of key road projects in Benin City and its environs, the governor praised contractors delivering quality work while threatening to revoke contracts where progress is slow. News Central's Amenze Bazwaye has more.
From site to site, Governor Monday Okpebholo inspected ongoing road construction projects across Benin City and its environs. At the 1.4-kilometer Catholic Charismatic Renewal Road in Wioko off Opaikenwa Road, the governor expressed displeasure over the slow pace of work, warning the contractor to improve quickly or risk losing the contract.
We were at Church Road. We're not too happy with the contractor there. So our next visit, by the time we get there again and nothing is happening the way we want it, we can revoke that job.
I can assure you that before you come here, maybe you visit on the 15th of this month, we'll be locking up with stone base.
Residents of the flood-prone community, many of whom were displaced for years, welcomed the governor with cheers, describing the project as laudable. With erosion control measures underway, some families have begun returning to their homes.
Now we want to get road now. Before now it's water now every day. As the young God they do this road now, everybody they happy, we enjoy.
You don't say for years. For years we don't suffer this road. We pray, may God empower Monday Okpebholo, make He help us as He don't do what they go. May God give them more wisdom.
Okpebholo, it's a Messiah. God sent him here. This work he has did, is more than 1,000 roads.
The inspection continued at Opaikenwa Road, where reconstruction of a single carriageway with underground drainage is ongoing. From there, the governor also inspected surface and underground drainage works at Ewuku and adjoining areas, as well as surface drains at kilometer 12 of the Old Benin Sapele Road in Mpubaoka local government area. At Ogege, off Sapele Road, the governor trekked several kilometers to assess completed sections. Here, he commended the contractor for quality workmanship and adherence to standards.
The construction of roads that we are doing, that is the only way that we can let our people know that they voted for us.
The governor says his administration will continue monitoring projects closely, especially with the rainy season approaching, stressing that road infrastructure remains central to President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda, which he fully aligns with.
For second tenure by God's grace, where we not feel pass, we dey pass and now.
In Edo, for News Central, Ameze Bazwaye.
The Yuletide is a special period when families and friends get the opportunity to be together. As such, many schedule various programs within this period in order to have their family members and well-wishers participate. Now, while the cities are deserted, the villages are full of returnees with activities lined up by families and communities. Now, in this report, News Central's Chinwe Ugele takes a look at some of the many activities that take place within the last week in December and the first week in January in Igbo land.
The Yuletide has been informally adopted by Igbos as the biggest season of the year, when various events are planned and fixed for. From weddings to cultural ceremonies such as age retirement, Ekpe festival, Thanksgiving ceremonies, chieftaincy conferment, and many others. All that the people do this period is to attend and make merry.
Been able to mobilize everybody to come and rejoice and celebrate and thank God for a wonderful year that we are going to witness in 2026.
This very time, we don't play with it. Okay, got boys and men and women doesn't play with this time of a festival. We don't do any evil things. Rather, it's the culture of the land that we are doing here today.
While some are still skeptical about the security situation in the southeast region, others have looked beyond it and say they recognize the need to be with the people at such a time.
Despite the bad news everywhere, people always try to come and see what is happening, as in what we're about to experience tomorrow. Tomorrow is our Ekpe Day.
I've been here since the 23rd. You know, there has not even been any incident or any cause for worry. You know, I think yes, it's not that there is no insecurity, but it's not as bad as it's being portrayed on social media. You know, but so far, I think the insecurity has reduced to a very reasonable level.
The people say the season affords them time to relax and identify with their kinsmen, to discuss community development, among others.
Since 2 years or 3 years,
in the coming days, these nearly abandoned roads will once again begin to get busy with the return of travelers, while the villages will once more experience the quiet and loneliness associated with it most part of the year. In Apia for News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
Let's talk business now. Nigeria's ambitious tax reform has triggered public anxiety as households and businesses already strained by high inflation and rising costs resist new compliance demands. The Center for Promotion of Private Enterprise, CPPE, has warned that the reform could fail if implemented too aggressively. In a policy note signed by the CEO, Dr. Muda Yusuf, CPPE said, while the framework is sound and progressive, success depends on careful sequencing, political sensitivity, and economic realism. The think tank noted deep public skepticism, a weak social contract, and the dominance of the informal economy as key risks. It urged a phased approach, focusing enforcement on large firms and high-income earners. And now to another development. Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, has clarified that the alleged 128 billion naira reportedly missing in the power sector did not occur under his watch. The statement on Monday followed a call by the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, urging all investigations into the Ministry of Power and Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trade PLC, NBET, over the fund. Adilabu, appointed in August 2023, stressed that the reported discrepancies were documented in the 2022 financial audit prior to his tenure. And while he supports accountability, the minister urged Serap to refrain from baseless speculation and emphasized that the matter predates the current administration. And now Tanimu Yakub, the Director General of the Budget Office, says President Bola Tinubu's economic reforms were designed as a structural reset, not a promise of immediate prosperity. In a statement titled Tinubunomics and the Arithmetic of Illusion, Yakubu argued that much public criticism relies on misleading arithmetic rather than sound fiscal analysis. He explained that critics often confuse revenue with cash, borrowing with income, and federation-wide receipts with federal spending capacity. According to him, fuel subsidy removal closed fiscal leakages rather than creating surplus cash, while rising naira debt largely reflects exchange rate revaluation, not fresh borrowing. Yakubu stressed that accountability should be based on proper audit logic, fiscal structure, and measurable outcomes, not headline figures circulating on social media. And coming up, President-elect of Guinea pledges political, economic sovereignty. The details of this after the break. Stay with us. And now to foreign stories. In Guinea, President-elect Mamadi Doumbouya has called for a nation of political and economic sovereignty in his first address to the country. The announcement comes after the Supreme Court officially confirmed him as the winner of the December 28 presidential election, awarding him 86.72% of the vote. Doumbouya, who took power in a coup 4 years ago and had pledged not to run for office, defeated 8 other candidates. He now faces the challenge of uniting a nation while pursuing the political and economic goals he outlined in his inaugural address.
J'appelle solennellement toutes les filles et tous les fils de d'autres nations d'ici et de la diaspora à se rassembler pour bâtir ensemble une Guinée nouvelle, une Guinée de paix, de justice, de prospérité partagée et de souveraineté politique et économique pleinement assumée.
Dozens of Sudanese have fled escalating violence at Kossi, south of Khartoum, describing harrowing journeys marked by hunger and thirst. Many escaped from Heglig, home to Sudan's largest oil field, trekking through forests without food or water. Refugees say they drank from livestock ponds after crossing the South Sudan border twice as RSF paramilitary fighters advanced on their communities.
والله اللابس فستانه توب ما خلونا لبسناه اولادنا ديل مرقوا حفيانين يدفرونا كده من البيوت يقول لنا خلاص دي تاني ما بيوتكم.
الرحله اخذت مننا 15 يوم، يعني ال 15 يوم دي كده العربيه بتعطل لنا في الشارع كده، نعمل اسبوع كده قاعدين في الغابه، العربيه بتعطل لنا نعمل لنا 3 يوم كده يعني.
والله وصلنا في 14 يوم، تعبنا شديد مره واحد والله العظيم. هسه نيلان ذاته في قرآن يا هدى نيلان ذاته كله مقطع يا هذا ما عندنا نيلان ذاته ايانا كلهم ماشيين حفيانين والله.
President Volodymyr Zelensky says Ukrainian emergency responders have evacuated patients and provided urgent care after an overnight Russian strike hit a medical clinic with an active inpatient ward in Kiev. Authorities report several people were injured in the attack while 2 were killed, one in the capital and another, a man in his 70s, in the neighboring city of Fastiv. Air raid alerts sounded across Ukraine as the strikes triggered emergency responses nationwide. Chinese President Xi Jinping has met with the Irish Prime Minister Michael Martin at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing. The visit marks the first trip to China by an Irish Taoiseach since 2012. It comes at a time of heightened trade tensions between China and the European Union, as Ireland prepares to take over the EU's rotating presidency in July. Nigeria is stepping into 2026 with a promise that we've heard before. But one thing Nigerians are still willing to listen to because of how much is at stake. Recently, the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, says the federal government will deliver reliable power supply this year. Reliable, that's the word. That word matters because for millions of Nigerians, electricity is not a given. It's something you anticipate, you manage, and prepare backup plans for. Now, you don't assume light will be there, you assume it might not. And that reality shapes everything. Homes plan around outages, businesses budget for diesel, entrepreneurs spend more on generators than expansion, and the national grid becomes something people talk about and not something they trust. Now, the government says 2026 will focus on grid stability, infrastructure updates, metering, and improving accountability among distribution companies. These are not new ideas, but they are necessary ones. And if implemented properly, they can make a real difference. Because reliable power is not about luxury, it's about productivity. It's about cost reduction. It's about allowing small businesses to survive without bleeding money on fuel. The fuel that we have a lot of, actually. Now, it's about students being able to study at night, hospitals operating without emergency fuel runs. And that's your postscript. Now, before we go, let's take a look at what's happening in the sporting world. Manchester United have sacked Ruben Amorim after 14 months in charge with Darren Fletcher to take charge against Burnley. Amorim hinted that his relationship with club officials was strained on Friday, suggesting he would not be fully backed in the transfer market. And also, Nigeria is targeting a record 18th Africa Cup of Nations quarterfinal appearance when they face Mozambique in Monday's night round of 16 clash at the Complex Sportive des Fers. The Super Eagles, Africa's most decorated side in terms of overall medals, boast 3 AFCON titles, 5 silver medals, and 8 bronze finishes. And joining us live from Fez, Morocco, is our sports correspondent, Udoka Njoku. Udoka, how confident is the Super Eagles camp ahead of its historic round of 16 clash? Udoka, if you can hear me, I'm just going to repeat my question. How confident is the Super Eagles camp ahead of its historic round of 16 clash?
That game between kicks off at 8 a.m. and here in Fez. But ahead of that game against Mozambique, no upset so far in the Nations Cup. So we're very confident that the Super Eagles will get out the victory later today.
Udoka, well, you're just going to have to stick around for In the Games to find out more about the games. And that's it on the 12th report. But before we go, Udoka, I'm quite curious to know, what tactical approach is Eric Chell likely to adopt against Mozambique?
Well, it is all attack Eric Chell, because he wants to unleash his attack with Paul Onuachu as well. Ademola look definitely be starting today alongside maybe Chukwueze, Alex Iwobi, an all-attacking Super Eagles against Mozambique. Of course, the Mozambicans are saying that they get a game, but they've never beaten Nigeria before. But I don't think it will be different today. Super Eagles are going all out against Mozambique.
Right. And how significant is Nigeria's perfect group stage record going into this match?
Yeah, of course, very, very significant for the board. And crashing out in the quarterfinals, I don't think it will happen this time around. For that group stage, it boosts a lot of confidence because beating Tunisia is a big deal. And of course, getting those wins against Uganda and Tanzania are quite huge results for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. And getting into the quarterfinals, it is also huge for the Super Eagles. And also knowing that this is their 4th game here. It's more like a home game for the Super Eagles because the more
All right, well, you're going to have to stick around for In the Games to find out more from Udoka, our correspondent who's currently in Fez, Morocco. And that's all on the 12 report today. Remember, you may send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen because we want to see what you see. Also, do also follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. Now, you can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Gold TV channel 23, Star Times 274, Avid TV, and of course, live on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Blessings Masugu.